everybody. So today we're going to get into the tutorial on how to make the cover for a traveler's notebook, or a Fodori, Clothdori, Midori style notebook. I already have a pattern to make them, but I'm gonna just go through really quickly what you want to do. So the first thing is to decide the size that you want. You can look up online the sizes of different actual Midori traveler's notebooks, and I guess I'll do that, and I'll put the measurements down below in the description box. Or you can do what I did, and I just found these little notebooks at the dollar store and I liked them and decided to size it based off this. So, you know, you can just measure something. So this is 5.5 inches by 7.5 inches. And you would draw a square, or a rectangle in this case, 5.5 by 7.5. And if you wanted to be precise, you could use a protractor, protractor, to make sure that your corners are square. So just for the sake of showing you guys, I'm just going to draw a rectangle. It's going to be all of the sock. I don't know if you can see this. So you have a rectangle. This isn't working so good. Black. That's working a little bit better. Okay, so there, say you have a black rectangle. Okay. Black rectangle. The next step you need to do is figure out, if you're making a sewn cover, figure out the seam allowance needed on your machine, and I'll show you a way that you can do that in the next step. So say my seam allowance, a common seam allowance is 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch. So you can get yourself, or if you're a sewer, one of these little tools, or you can just use a piece of cardboard. So this one has a little slider, and you can slide to 1/2 inch, like this. Or you can measure 1/2 inch on a piece of cardboard and draw a line across. Those are two ways you can do it. And then after that, you take another color and you go all the way around your pattern that you just made, and you make a mark. Make marks. Or with this thing, you put your little thing on the and you do this all the way around. And then you take a straight edge and you connect all those dots together. So basically you're making a bigger square around your other square. And what this is doing when you're sewing and you're using your guide, so your guide will go along here, your needle is actually going to wind up sewing along this. And so you do it all the way around, because we're going to be sewing all the way around. So when the finished product is done, it'll be the size that you originally intended. A little bit confusing, but yeah, you figure out what your seam allowance size is, and then you add that on to the original size that you want. You can pre-do it. Say you're doing 5 inches and you need a 1/2 inch seam allowance on each side. You can just measure 6 inches. So instead of 5 by 7, it would be 6 by 8. If you're a bit more savvy. But if not, using this little method works a lot easier. I get confused. Mathematics is not my forte, so I just do that. So once you're done, you just cut out your rectangle, and then we're ready for the next step. Alright, so to make my book, I needed this, and you'll see it's quite a lot bigger, but that's fine. That's fine. So basically, you need 2 pieces of fabric. one that you want for the outside and a backing fabric. Or in my case, I picked two fabrics that I like that will work. So pretty paisley kind of pattern, and I'm backing it with denim just to make it a bit more sturdy. But if I really want, or my friends really want, they could reverse their journal. So if this gets too dirty or they just feel like changing, they can just take out the elastics, turn it inside out, rethread the elastics, and they have a new cover. So it's pretty nifty. So we'll be cutting pieces of fabric this size, and since I'm making many journals, I'll be cutting many. So usually when I'm sewing, I like to use a washable marker. I'm not going to be laundering these, so it doesn't really matter. You could use, there's like chalking tools and all kinds of different tools. But I just like a good Crayola washable marker. So you put, one important thing, I always draw on the back side of the fabric. I try to get a marker that will show up on the fabric. And this isn't so bad, it's just a light crease. If it's wrinkly, you must iron your fabric first. You don't want to be cutting and measuring on wrinkled fabric. Another thing to take note of, if it's a pattern, like this one, it doesn't matter, there's no direction to the pattern. We have another one, it's like Hello Kitty, and I wouldn't want to put it like this with all the Hello Kitties in this direction. So just make sure you're actually cutting your pattern on the right direction of the fabric. And if you notice here, there's, I forgot the name of this part. The salvage. So it's usually a part that has like information, the name of the fabric, the colors in the fabric, that kind of thing. This part doesn't get used. Although on this it doesn't really matter, but eh. So if you wanted, you could upcycle pairs of jeans, which I did for the first few, but the other pairs of jeans that I had didn't have wide enough legs to actually get a full pattern out of one leg. And the seams in jeans is really bulky, so I didn't want to have a seam somewhere in the... If you're like me and you're having a hard time keeping your thing straight, you can lay down your pattern with heavy things, like matte medium and gesso pots. So I do that. So there we go. And I lost my lid. Now another thing, if you're new to sewing, a rather important thing is having, where'd they go? Dedicated scissors for fabric. Do not use your paper scissors. Don't use, okay, well, you can try using your paper scissors for fabric. You're going to get frustrated really quick. Don't ever use your sewing scissors for cutting anything but fabric. Because they won't be able to cut fabric ever again. And, if you know a loved one that sews, if you touch their sewing scissors, they will be very unhappy. I don't know if I'm on camera, so now you just cut out. You want to keep it flat and do as long a stroke on your scissors as you can to get as straight a line as you can. If you had a cutting mat and rotary blade, you could use that as well. Works very, very well. I don't have enough room on this table to pull it all out and do that. So I'll just hand cut. One side left. I don't know if my head's in the way. Alright, so now that you have one piece done, so I already have the front pieces cut out, then you can do several different things. the traditional method would be to put pins. So the next important thing, again, it's better if everything's ironed. So you decide what you want showing on the outside. So you put those two sides together. It's called right sides together. So I want this to be this part, the inside, and this to be the outside. So you call that putting the right sides together. So you line them all up as best as you can. Put the heavier fabric down, you might have a bit of an easier time. Smooth it all out. Check the back. Alright. And then you want to pin everything. So you put pins all the way around. If you don't have pins, you can use binder clips. To hold it, you put binder clips all the way around. If you don't have binder clips, you could even use clothespins, although clothespins aren't as solid. The binder clips are a bit clunky, but it'll work. You can even use sewing needles instead of straight pins, if that's what you had. So you put, you know, maybe 2 or 3 on the short side and 3 or 4 on the long side. It just helps keep the fabric together while you sew. But it's not, these fabrics aren't stretchy, so it shouldn't be too difficult. It's just handy. Usually I put them all going in the same direction. So you want to not have it too puckered. And there we go. So now we're ready for sewing. I guess I'll go over it here. We're going to be sewing only 3 sides to start off, so that we're able to turn it inside right, and we'll put our insert in to make it stiff, and then we turn in the sides and sew the last part after, and then top stitch. Sounds complicated, but it's not too bad. So I'm going to go ahead and finish all the other pieces, and I'll show you guys the next time. One way to figure out what your seam allowance is you lift up, make sure your presser foot's lifted. You put your needle all the way down. Oops, my foot's loosey-goosey. So basically, you rest your ruler on the needle, and whatever you're using as a guide. Most people use the side of their presser foot as a guide. As you can see here, I did a project where I wanted a really wide seam allowance, so I just ran a piece of masking tape and I used that as my guide. So it's not it doesn't line up with any measurement really. So yeah, that would be my seam allowance. So you can do this ahead of time, measure it. You can get these little rulers. I think I paid $1 for it. I can just set it up that way, and then the step before that I showed you in the video, you just use this as your seam allowance and you draw it all the way around your pattern. So now for the next step, the sewing. So I have a very old sewing machine. I would recommend, since they don't always line up, if, put the biggest piece of fabric down on the bottom. In this case it happens to be the jeans. I like to orient my fabric in a direction where I can pull my pins out this way and not this way, which makes it super not fun to do while you're actually sewing this thing. Let's see. So, you basically want to start in a corner. Make sure everything's threaded, which is not. My bobbin's threaded, but my top is not. I'm just going to do everything in black thread. So, if you don't have a sewing machine, maybe you can borrow one from somebody. You could certainly hand sew this. If you hand sew, I would make another stencil, so you have, or just draw a line where you want your stitching to be to have even stitching, because I can't stitch in a straight line to save the life of me. You can borrow a machine. I know, like, if you live in a large city, there's some places kind of like a library, or even at the library, where you can like rent tools or borrow tools like a sewing machine or stuff like that. It's kind of cool. There might be a local sewing club. You never know. This was given to me, but I've seen old machines, or like not in a piece of furniture like this one is, but just like tabletop machines for like, you know, $10 or less. So yeah, it's not too hard to get a machine. And this thing's cranky, and I'm sure me not knowing how to use a machine properly doesn't help. Can't get this in. So, make sure, you're going to want to make sure that your machine's threaded as per the directions. Your needle is set to the up. You want to start sewing in a manner that you can pull your needles out this way, because if you're trying to sew and pull them out this way, not going to be good times. So you stick your presser foot down, put your needle in down position, stitch a couple stitches, hit the reverse button, stitch as far back as you can, and there we go. You can go as fast or as slow as you like. If you're a good sewer, you can go fast, but usually if you want to avoid mistakes or your machine doing funky things like this old girl, you go slow. Especially since I'm using like a really thick fabric and a really thin fabric. Just keep the lid on. So you're going to sew 3 sides. So the 2 long sides and 1 short side. And then we'll go on to the next step after that. So when you get to here, and I usually measure it by that, you want to make sure that your needle is in the down position. You lift your foot, you turn it, and I'm noticing I'm not getting all the way to the edge, so I'm just going to put it back, advance maybe 2 stitches by hand, and try again, and then I'm right on the... So you want to always line up before you start stitching again. So I'll show that again on the next corner. We get another corner to go. So needle in the down position, lift, turn, I'm okay, and then off I go again. So in the end, I don't need those 2 needles. Just open it up. So I've got around 3 sides now. So when I'm going to go almost to the edge, I'm going to hit the reverse button, stitch backwards, and then let it go, and then just run right off the side. Let me just remove that. Now, the important part before we turn it inside out is where the corner is. You want to trim the corner fairly close to where the stitching is, but you don't want to actually go right to the stitching. And you do that on each corner. If you want, you can also trim this, but it's not strictly necessary. This I'm only going to trim down. You don't want to actually nick where the stitching is, but you want to remove a bit of the bulk. If you're using denim like I am, you're going to notice the denim's going to fray like mad. You don't have to worry about that. So, the next part is you want to turn it inside right. You want to, this is fairly easy because you have such a big space. You want to poke the corners out. And since we snipped them, we're going to be able to get the corners out really nice and square. Oop, use this spiral thread. You can go in with like a chopstick or a pencil. Always works. So now we're ready for the next step. So I'm going to keep doing all of them, and we'll see you for the next step. The next step is actually rather important. You want to lay it out as flat as you can, and then you press it. And the pressing is really important. My iron's not hot enough. So you want to set the seams, set the fabric, get all the wrinkles out. Now, if you had a fabric that was finicky, this is just cotton and denim, cotton and cotton. But some fabrics are fragile to being ironed, so you might need to put a cloth on top, a cloth on the bottom. And now the next part, the flap that's open, you want to fold in. And you need to fold in enough that it's greater than your seam allowance. You can just set it a bit. Then you fold in the other flap. Because after we put in our insert, let's see how that goes. That's good. After we put in our insert, we're going to top stitch it. So we're going to stitch over this area, and that's what's going to seal up the open side. I thought I was on low steam. So now that that's done, the next step after, oh my, that's not, we're just going to trace. We'll square it off after. Oh, okay, something like that. And I'm just gonna, I'm using this as a square. Okay, so now we made our stencil. This is for cardboard insert. And I'm going to cut this out. I'm going to press all the other ones, and then we'll be on to the next step. So I forgot a step. Once you cut out your stencil, you can test it out. See, a little bit too big. So I'm just going to trim some off. You could go by measurements if you wanted. That was relatively straight. It still don't have enough. Because there's like bulk in the seam, so you want it to be snug, so you don't want to take too much off. Okay, well, that's pretty straight. Okay, this should go. Now I have to like really fight to get it out. There we go. So we test it out. I'm way too long. I'm not all the way in either. So I'm going to trim a couple. Is this much off? Now, cereal box cardboard is actually a nice thickness, but what I don't like about it is, well, this one's not so bad. It's actually pretty symmetrical. I'm not so fond of like the folds in the board, so I got some heavyweight Bristol cardboard in big pieces, and I'm going to see how one does inside. If that's not enough, I'm going to double them up, and I'm going to be covering them with packing tape to make them a bit more resistant to water. So I'm just going to trim that down a bit, and then I'm going to iron all the other pieces. Hi everybody! You get to see me in the camera this time around. I don't have enough workspace on my desk to deal with these huge pieces of Bristol board. So welcome to the corner of my stepdaughter's room, aka also my crafting room for now. So I went ahead and I trimmed, turned, and ironed all the covers. Don't they look snazzy? So now the next part will be to make the inserts. So I have a rather thick, heavy Bristol, and yesterday I bought it about a month ago. I was worried that maybe one might not be enough, but I think in all cases except the one that I didn't back with jean material for my stepdaughter, I think one is going to be just fine. So I'm going to cut the one and see what it's like. Certainly it'll be enough for the one that's denim on both sides. So I'm just going to put these aside. This will be for the next step. We don't need it now. So I think this way will cause the least amount of waste. I'm just going to line it up in the corner. Mark it. And if I was going to be doing a double thickness one, I wouldn't actually cut two pieces. I would just come and do this. I know I'm going to need a double thickness one for my stepdaughters. So there's that one. So I can get 3. Oh my. 3 out of a Bristol. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm not going to have enough. Right. I'll have to improvise 1 or 2 of them. So I'm just going to cut one out. Yeah, this is pretty sturdy. This is almost as sturdy, oops, as a cereal box. If you wanted, I saw one tutorial online, and I'll see if I can try to find it. She uses some fancy kind of foam type stuff that once it's a sewing supply. Once you put it in and you iron it again, the fabric adheres to it, which is a nice touch. But when I made my journal, I was pretty broke. So I decided just to use cardboard, and top stitching, you don't get too much puckering or buckling of the fabric, so it's just fine. So if you wanted to do like a super nice professional finished Fabridori, you could, I don't know what the name of that stuff is called, but I'll leave her a link to her video down below. So like I kind of like what I tend to do is I watch 3 or 4 videos on how to do something and kind of take each aspect that I like from the videos and mash them all together and get my method. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but that's all part of crafting, and I love seeing other people's videos. So, and I'm just going to put these on the dirty floor. So now that I have my thing, I'm just going to see that it fits and how it's going to. So it's a touch long for this one, but no, it's going to be nice. So I'll see you guys for the next step. All right. So I went and I fitted each piece in. I had to trim a number of them, but that's okay. So the next part, actually, because I want, each one is slightly different than the next, I just kept all of the sleeves in the covers, just not to mix them up. So I ended up using a Vistaprint envelope and just made sure that the crease was down the middle. If you're using upcycled cardboard, one side is plain, and that's cool. I'm going to put that side where, up where the thinner fabric is, because, the white part you could probably see through, and, the printed and labeled side facing the denim, so it's not going to show. If you're not using denim or a thick, heavy fabric, you can paint them white first, so that you don't see, lettering and stuff coming out. So this is a step I didn't do on my journal, but I want to do to these ones to make them a little bit more durable. And I'm just going to cover them with a layer of packing tape, if I can find the end. So yeah, just a layer of packing tape. So I'm going to do the top and bottom edge. Just going to dog ear that so that it is nice and sealed. Now I know we're going to be top stitching it after and all that, but yeah, I figured this will help make it more durable if ever it were to get wet. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. This isn't a straight piece of cardboard either, it's like bumpy and stuff. My bestie is going to have a journal with some character. Alright, so now that that's done, let's fit it back in here. So again, the print side up to the denim side. Slide it in, and now you want to fold, and I'm going to use the denim side. Fold one of the fabrics over the cardboard and then just tuck the other one in. And if you need to, you can repress this. There's a little bit of bulk on the corners. Get rid of any hanging threads. So yeah, I'm probably going to repress it. So just do a little bit of ironing so it's all nice and flat. Or I might just I stitched all the way to the end. I think I'm going to just stitch it so that it folds a bit cleaner. There we go. So now we're ready to top stitch. I'll see you back at the sewing machine. For the next step, we're going to do the top stitching. So we're just going to sew all the way around, which will help seal this part, but also it'll keep the fabric nice and put, and adds like a little decorative border. If you want, if you have a machine that does fancy borders, you can set it to one of those. You can use a coordinating colored thread. I'm just going to all do them black. But the important thing is you want to try to be as tidy as possible, because the stitching is going to show. All the stitching we did before is all on the inside, so it doesn't matter. The other thing you want to be careful of is to go slow, because you're sewing through a piece of cardboard and a piece of jean, like denim. So same kind of thing. I'm going to do a few stitches. Sometimes the first few I do by hand. Just go slow and steady. I'm starting with the opening end just to get everything secure. And I'm just going to do these by hand because it's a little thick. Same thing, turn it around. I'm going to do the first few by hand just to get it going. So you see how it makes just this really nice border. Makes it look all tidy. Again. And you're going to want to go all the way back. To that line, and then back stitch. Out it comes. And you just carefully trim the threads. And you want to check to make sure that it's caught the fabric the whole way. If you wanted, you could run a little bit of fabric glue in there just to close it up. And there is one completed cover. Well, not completed. There's still two small steps left, and that's putting in the little rivets and stringing the elastic. So there we go. Our first cover. So pretty once it's done. Hi everybody. Alright, so the next step is to add the holes to string through the elastic. Now there's two ways, there's two ways that you can do it. I don't know if you can see. So one hole under the other, a hole in the middle for your around elastic, and two holes like that, one under the other. Or you can do them side by side, and one in the middle. I've seen journals where this is here in the front or the back, but I don't like that because if you open it up to right, you have a bump. So I like to keep it on the spine. But then again, it's both personal preference. I did the side-by-side on this one because I had like a really thick seam allowance and 4 layers of denim. I knew I just wasn't gonna get the little punch through, and like the stack of the little rivets wouldn't be enough, so I did side by side, so it's, you know, it's not one here and one here. So I'll show you how it's done. First I started, I always go from what I think is going to be the outside going down. There's a little bit of an imperfection here, so I want this to be in the back. So I just start by folding it in half so that I have a crease of sorts. Now this is going to be very loud, and I'm going to try to tone down the sound for this part. But first, I found at my sewing supply store 2 different kinds. Well, like 2 different kinds. So ones that have 2 pieces, and then ones that have 1 piece, and these are just different colors. One an antique bronze and a black. And then ones that have a long one and a short one, and you feed this through the hole and then put this over top and then smash it down. I'm not a fan of these ones. I think they're a bit more fiddly, and I don't know, when I was closing them with the hammer, they didn't make as nice of a finished look. So I prefer these ones, but again, personal preference. And you don't have to go and buy like the pair of pliers, especially if you're not doing many of them. You can look for, out of the 3 kits that I bought, 2 came with little tools. So one, oh, that one's all clogged up. Oh, they're both all clogged up. But I don't know if you can see, one is convex and one is concave. So the convex one is used to make the hole, and the concave concave is the one to make the hole, and the convex one is to close the fitting. So if you're doing quite a few, they get clogged up, so I tend to just use a needle to dig out all the little bits of fabric and paper that accumulate in there. If you're using denim like I am, it is really hard to punch through. And another thing that I learned, don't do it directly on your cutting mat. I have a lovely little gouge in it now, although the first cut went super smooth. And as you can see, like I did all the other ones, I really abused this poor piece of wood. So, get a piece of wood that you don't care about abusing. So usually the first one I poke is the middle one. And at first I was poking one edge one, setting it, and then poking the other edge ones. You don't want them too close together so that they'd overlap like this. So you have to take into account how big the rim is. But I kind of got good at eyeballing it. So now I just kind of do them all in one go. That one didn't do very good. Also, because of the denim, see, this one I didn't get. Sometimes I'll get 1 out of the 5 that really, you know, punches the whole hole correctly. But usually with the denim, I have to come and snip the last layer away. But you usually have, like this one's pretty, almost did it on its own. You can see where, so I just usually help it out. I don't know if I'm on camera. If you had the pliers, you would still need these little bits to do this one. So it's just kind of handy. Oh, this one, even the top layer and the paper didn't all go. So you want to make sure all the junk is out of the hole, pretty much. And especially with the denim, it makes all these little flyaways. Snip all those away as well. So just tidying up all the holes. Tidy up all the holes. And then you're ready to set your thing. You set your little rivets. So I'm going to do them in the antique bronze because it's just prettier. A few of them I did with the I did only one with the silver. I really didn't like how they worked. So again, you're putting the nice side on the side that you want to use as the outside cover. I've made these with the intent to be reversible, but I figured the nice printed side is going to wind up getting used unless I really missed the point of what I think my giftee would like, but I think I did an okay job. So now you take this one, no, that one's a bit better, the convex, the one that's pointed outwards like a cone, and I usually just make sure all the fabric is pushed around, and then that's it. Very, very easy. That part's easy, it's the cutting part that's hard. So I'm just going to toss all these in there. Get rid of that a little bit. You see, and it makes like a really nice, polished, almost professional look. Okay. And then I'm just going to go and set them all. Sometimes I find the needle helps to get all the threads around the outside. I'm forever losing my tools. Some of them you're going to find just are easier than others. That's fine. There's my needle. And it's not hard to get the hang of this. I never used this kind of a tool before, or these kind of things before when I made mine, and I did mine just fine. I think the hardest part was getting all of them in a row. So there you go. Now all that's left is threading the elastic and folding the sides, because my design has an extra little feature, which I'll show you in the next step. And there you go. Looks very, very nice. The next step is to thread elastic on the cover of your traveler's notebook. I found this really nice black elastic at my local sewing store. Relatively cheap. But when I was at the dollar store, I found it's called elastic ribbon, but it came in fun colors, and same sort of thing. I don't know how well this will hold up, but I thought it was pretty. So we're going to use this. So you start from the inside, you thread it going out, you thread it into the next one, so that on the outside you just have this little loop showing. And then you thread it through the bottom, you skip this hole, and then you thread it back in. So again, all you have is a little loop. Now you want to pull it a bit so that the elastic is taut. So I'm going to cut it at the, at the same length, and I'll just tie it off in a knot. You can do many, but I'm just going to do a reef knot. So reef knot is left over right, and then right over left. It makes kind of like a flattish knot. If you use just fabric or a very soft, supple leather, you might get some curl like this until you put some inserts. That's kind of normal. If you find that there's not enough tension in the elastic to hold your inserts in snugly, you can unknot it, knot it more snugly. So the next one, which is going to be the closure, you're just going to fold it over and then poke the bright. This part is called the bright, if I remember correctly from my knot tying lessons. Actually, I'm going to do this step after. So the happy accident that I made mine way too huge, and when I put in my notebook, I'm like, oh, I got all this useless space. But I figured maybe down the line I want to have like a really thick, chunky traveler's notebook. But for the time being, I was only having 3 inserts. So I just kind of took note of how much space I needed and gave myself a little bit of extra space, and I folded the side over. I'll try to do this evenly. And then I went and I folded the other side over. So that it was a more appropriate size for my insert. So I still had some space to add inserts in. And then I just took some alligator clips. Now, you don't have to do this. You can just do your measurements according to what you need. But I just added some alligator clips. I have alligator clips handy if I need them. But once I was done, it left me with a pocket. Let's see. It left me with a place where I could tuck things, and I really liked that. And not only that, later on, if I want to add way more inserts and have like a really chunky journal, I can just open these up to accommodate the extra space. So it's a traveler's notebook that will grow with me. But I really liked it. So like in mine, which I don't have with me, I would tuck like my cards with washi tape. I've even managed to tuck a little pen in here. So now that I have the more appropriate size, again, bend this over. And I guess to measure it off, just kind of measure it like that. Now I'm going to snip it. If you're unsure, give yourself extra. It's easier to add extra knots than to, have to recut and start all over again. And then I just do a bunch of knots. Good mass of knots so that it doesn't pull through. And there we go. There's the finished traveler's notebook. So mine's a little bit different. But again, I'm kind of the type of person who sees an idea and tries it out, makes mistakes, turns the mistakes into, nifty little happy accidents, as Bob Ross would say. It's all part of the creative process. So after this, I'm going to do all the other ones, and then we have the pleasure of putting them all together, and that's going to be really awesome. Hi everyone! We're finished making the covers, and now for the really, really fun part. You'll see I have different videos for some of the different things that we're going to put in here. I did a little video about the washi tape cards. I did some videos about these 3 inserts. Oops, I'm missing one. Right then. Quick. Just to show you. So there's a graph paper insert, a sketchbook paper insert, an adult coloring book insert. All of these I made myself. On top of that, just a little yearly calendar, but I decorated them with scrapbook paper. There'll be a little video from that, and then just a little notebook that I got. So, a lot of people wonder, how do you get more than 2 books in here when there's only 2 elastics? It's pretty simple. I've seen kits online on Amazon of elastics, especially for the Midori stuff, but just regular elastic bands work. So basically, you take 2 books, you open them up to the middle, you slide a rubber band, and now they're joined together, and then you put this under the elastic. If you wanted, since these have elastics too, you can use this, or so you have 3 here. The 3rd one can go under your elastic like that. So I've got 3 books on 1 elastic, and then the other 2, I like to find the center of the book. Some people just use the cover, but I find it gets a better grip from the center. So make sure I'm putting this the right way. This is just a 2-year calendar, and they're in French because I'm in Quebec and you can't find them not in French. So again, 2 split together, and you place it under the other one, and you could just keep doing it. 2 more on an elastic, slide it under. So there's my inserts. Now, I didn't want to just give inserts. I made little pocket folders, so we can put that in here if we want. Actually, I want to put it around. I have a video on how to make these. I want to add a thing of washi tape. I want to add some paper clips. Extra paper clips are always handy. I also want to add some of these really, I want to make sure I get 3 different ones, really cute, I don't know if you can see those, little tiny stickers. They came in a giant sheet and I cut them down into little squares. So I have enough to give everybody 3. In they go. Aside from that, everybody can get a thing. I guess I'll put them in front. They're not going to fit. Whoops. This one's more snug in the back. A thing of little dots. They can be handy. I also found these really cool stickers. And almost everybody gets 2 of those. And a pen. And these cute little, some of these cute little decorated paper clips, which just add some of those. So my battery died, but I was just showing these little decorated paper clips that I made, so I'm going to put a couple of those on each one as well. Just clip them wherever, just because they're fun and handy. So all in all, this makes a pretty nifty gift. And I think I made them for about $10 each, maybe 12, everything said and done. I'm really happy with them, and I really hope that my friends and family are happy with them too. So you can, you know, on a budget, make a really nice Fabri-Dori, Faux-Dori traveler's notebook, all decked out with all kinds of fun things. So I hope you guys liked this tutorial. There's going to be a lot of links down below of all the different tutorials that went into making this. They'll all be listed down below in the description box. So the project's complete. 10 traveler's notebooks with all the fixings. So I think all the stuff. I think they really look awesome. Even though that there's these slight imperfections and stuff, like on this one, there was a black one hiding inside, hiding over my antique bronze one. So the two got smushed on there. It's for my best friend. She'll get a laugh out of it. But it's just, I don't know, they're really pretty. And some of them, like, I'm not going to be able to see the person that this one's intended for in person, so I wrote a little note about what a traveler's notebook is, what it can be used for, also mentioning bullet journal, which is what I use mine for. So yeah, I'm really excited to give all these out, and I hope that they're well received. And I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Really, don't be afraid to try it. Like, I'm not handy. I'm a novice sewer. I have an old cranky machine. You can even sew these by hand. Or if you don't want to sew, you can use a piece of leather, like a traditional Midori. For poking the holes, you'll need an awl or something pointy to poke the hole first, because the little tool's not going to cut through leather. I've seen another tutorial, and I'll put it down below, which is what I got. It's 2 or 3 tutorials, and it's one of the 3 that I kind of put all the knowledge together to kind of make this method. Making it out of old placemats, and I'll put that down below. So yeah, if you liked it, please comment, like, subscribe, share it if you want to. Let me know if you've made some. I'd love to see it. So I hope this inspired you to make your own traveler's notebook, especially if you're like me and I was really broke when I wanted to start it. Now I'm doing a bit better, but I think I like mine, or I respect and love mine a bit more than I made it myself. So thanks guys, I hope you have a great holiday season. I hope to get this up tomorrow, the 24th, but it might have to wait till the 26th. So yeah, happy holidays everybody. Thanks, bye.